everybody and welcome back to my channel. Now today, while it's snowing for one, as you can all see, it's quite beautiful, it's quite rare in Ireland, and this gave me a brilliant idea. I'm going to show you guys how to prepare your car for the winter, how to de-ice your car, how to prepare your car mechanically, because yes, you can somewhat damage it if you don't do it properly, especially when it's a proper reoccurring thing. For, I don't know, people up north. Although people up north, I'm pretty sure they're told how to do it properly. So this is for the people that, you know, it's not the most curing thing, but it still happens a couple of times, and maybe you might have a couple of questions about, you know, how to prepare your car, or just how to de-ice it. Because yes, you can also do many bad things, like cracking the windshield because you've decided to pour boiling hot water on ice, literally ice cold, glass. So yeah, let's get started. I will say, this is such a rare occurrence in Ireland, but when it does happen, it's so beautiful. Oh, I'm really happy that it's snowing. It's really nice, it really is really nice. Also, if you haven't noticed, I don't have my lapel mic on, because it broke after 5 months. And then I ordered a new one that was faulty. So yeah, I've been having a recurring theme of broken microphones. So yeah, I haven't been the luckiest person in the world. So I guess I'm gonna start off with, de-icing your car. Now, when you do de-ice your car, you want to avoid instant heat. That goes for people that have electric cars where the heater isn't, you know, dependent on the warmth of the engine. It's electric and it will basically immediately blow warm air. That's great, but also it might have the same effect on your windshield at least, or on your windows, as well. It's not as extreme, but it can crack your windows the same way when you pour boiling water on your windscreen when it's icy. Do not ever do that. Have your temperature at around 20 to 22-ish degrees, which is warm, yes, and it will gradually defrost it, but you also eliminate the risk of actually, cracking your windshield. So that's number one. Number 1.5 is if you want to pour water on your windshield, because you can't wait 5 or 10 minutes, which you should anticipate when literally everything is, frozen. Like, literally frozen. Number 2, you should most definitely look at your headlight, like both your headlights, indicators if you have some on the front or maybe on the mirror, but snow won't really get caught there. And back here, they should all be clear, including your license plates. Because if they're not, that is basically the exact same thing as having them dirty and, not being able to read them. It's quite important that you're seen, and, every person that has common sense would do that. Number 3, if you know that it's gonna, snow, and it's gonna be literally freezing for coming weeks to maybe months, you should leave your windscreen wipers up. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because this will freeze to the windshield, and when you do try to actually wipe your windscreen, for one, you can either break the whole assembly or you can actually damage your motor repeatedly doing this. Because yeah, it might be able to break itself loose. It's not a weak motor. It's supposed to be able to handle repeated, abuse to some extent. But it's not, it's not made to break loose of ice. And it shouldn't have to. The worst case scenario, like this whole assembly is metal. It won't break, but the motor can get damaged. So the worst case scenario is that happens. Won't really damage anything if it's windy. But yeah, that could happen. So it's probably best to leave it up for everybody's sake, really. And adding to that point, if your car is a Seat of around 2007 to 8 to 10, and basically normally these are hidden here for aerodynamics, and it also properly, you know, washes or, well, cleans the windscreen. And when it's, you know, in its stationary position, it's not in the way of your visibility. This might not look like a lot, but it's actually quite annoying. So I'm quite happy that this is a thing that it goes behind there. But when it's snowing and there's snow, and when you do actually wipe it down, and this happened to me this morning, snow actually got trapped behind it as it was going down, and then it just wiped snow back up here, and the actual blade itself wasn't able to properly go back here into its assembly. It was actually being pushed out because of the snow that was trapped here. So it wasn't able to go back into its place. So yeah, that's something you might want to, I guess, look out for. It's not the end of the world, but it's not a great thing for it to be, you know, not be able to go back into its, you know, its place of staying. So that's all I can really, well, think of as of right now. For prepping your car, you can really make out that I've planned this whole thing. So I guess let's move on to the mechanical stuff, because why not? So one of the first things that I'm going to talk about is tires. It's very important. In Ireland, it never gets cold enough for us to need winter and a set of summer tires. Usually a set of 4 seasons or all seasons will do, and it's probably not a bad idea because it's usually around 10 to 12 degrees. It's usually quite rainy, and in those situations where it does actually, you know, freeze, these things will outperform any summer tire that you can make. Like the makeup this tire, like the rubber makeup, is not as soft as summer tires, but it's not as hard as winter tires. Therefore, these can actually last, well, it can, you know, bear the snow and a bit of ice. Like, I had no problem. Like, this happened last year as well, where it actually got like this for a long time. And I had no trouble going anywhere, up hills, especially that hill that I have to come up for my house, up that, you know, down in any other places, and I didn't have any problem with that. So I would recommend getting 4 or all seasons. I sometimes call them 4 season, but it's marketed as all seasons. So yeah, that's one of the things I would recommend. Another thing is, if you do, like, let's say in Germany, you do get fined in winter if you don't have winter tires, and at that point the police can actually take your car away until you actually put the proper appropriate tires on the car, as far as I know. When you do get winter tires, or, you know, you might not think that you need winter tires all around. Now, it's extremely dangerous to have, let's say, winter tires just up at the front. This car's front wheel drive, so let's say you put winter tires on the driving wheels. Let's say it's front wheel drive or just rear wheel drive. That is extremely dangerous, and let me show you why, okay? Let me just show you why.
Rear-wheel drive cars gives you acceleration and grip to accelerate, but then you've got zero turning or braking because the front predominantly looks after that. So
that's for rear-wheel drive cars. It's, well, basically, yeah, it's not a great idea. And let's show it for front-wheel drive cars.
To show you exactly why front-wheel drive car with just winter tyres on the front axle is a really bad idea. Oh God, there's a cone. I mean, I could end the video here.
So if you're gonna, you know, if you're thinking about buying winter tires, but you're only gonna get half a pair, just get a set, just commit. And honestly, just get a set of Steelies. Like, that's not gonna hurt. It's really not gonna hurt anything. If you don't want your nice alloys out in the salt and whatever, be free to do that. Don't really have to worry about that because, yeah. Anyways, let's move on to the engine. So there are a couple of things you might want to do. First thing is, you should always run fully synthetic oil, because it being fully synthetic actually helps the oil itself just flow better in cold temperatures. Now, as far as I know, it doesn't hurt older cars that, you know, don't require it. As far as I know, like, I'll correct myself editing this if it does. As far as I know, it doesn't. Here's a test that an oil company did. You know, same spec oil, same spec everything. One is fully synthetic versus, you know, it just being normal oil.
For this test, we'll compare synthetic engine oil to a conventional oil. Now, the fun part. To simulate true Canadian winter conditions, I've left both containers in this freezer overnight, which is set at minus 40 degrees Celsius. So let's get them out and get to it. Once again, we have synthetic here, conventional here. So right away in our Canadian winter here, you can see the difference. Even at minus 40 degrees, the synthetic oil still flows, which is absolutely critical for lubricating moving engine parts. The conventional oil, on the other hand, thickened by the cold, is like molasses, not flowing like your engine needs it to, even after several minutes.
And I mean, you can see the difference. Like, it's quite significant. So, yeah, that's just a suggestion. It definitely helps when you cold start your car, especially in minus 10, 15, 20 degree weather. Right, next thing you might want to do is to flush your coolant. Usually, if you do this yourself, you are, well, depending on where you live, where if it gets really hot and really cold in summer and then winter, some people might do this. It's not really required. One thing that you should definitely look out for is if you do this yourself, that the mixture is good enough for cold enough temperatures. Usually when you buy a bottle of, or a big just jug of coolant, and I'll show you a picture of the coolant I used, there is a proper diagram for mixtures that you might want to use. Like, let's say if it gets really hot in the summer and it never freezes, you know, you might want to use the, you know, very little coolant but a lot more water, and you should definitely use distilled or deionized water, because yeah, minerals can fuck up many things. But you can look at the diagram of maybe the website or the bottle itself or anything like that. I use Bilstein coolant, and any, you know, part for cooling, I did my thermostat, and that is from Bilstein. Well, it's the best for, as far as I know, German cars. I'm pretty sure they make parts for other cars as well. It's the best one I can use. So getting back to the topic at hand, make sure that your coolant mixture is thick enough for it to not freeze. I don't think there is any significant effect of it being straight up antifreeze, because that's the concentrate. Coolant is the mixture itself. Antifreeze is the concentrate. I don't think there's any big difference between, you know, a lot more concentrated mixture versus a lot more lenient mixture. I use the middle ground because it doesn't really get, it's what, you know, it's what most people would do. It does freeze here at times. It never really goes below -5 to -6 when it does get extreme. That's extreme here. Like, people can drive here, and most people drive on like bald summer tires, which is a different topic for a different day. But I use the middle ground mixture for this car. Now, if it gets any more colder than -25, I think, on the bottle, the whole system will freeze up, which can damage many things. I'm not going to start naming them off because it's a whole different topic in its own, but let's just say it's not very good to the point where you will have to spend a lot of money, which is why I'm making this video, so you won't have to do that. Also, another thing is, you probably should make sure that your battery is in decent condition. Now, the sticker's falling off, probably because it's a Toyota battery, but this is a brand new battery that is actually quite oversized for my car. My car actually had a cover for the battery, for the original battery, but yeah, things happened. Anyways, cold kills batteries, and you probably should, if you live in a cold environment, you probably should have, you know, a trickle charger or at least a jump lead, because yeah, that could probably help you in the long run. Another thing that could freeze also is windshield washer fluid. Make sure that it doesn't. That won't really damage anything. Even if you try to wash it, it'll just be frozen, and you'll just burn out your pump if you do it for a long time. But it's just not a bad thing to, you know, note, especially in cold areas and cold places. Just make sure that it's, you know, decent enough and it's not gonna freeze. That could also have some bad consequences. Not as bad as your coolant freezing. So that's it. Thank you all for watching. I hope I covered everything, you know, every basic little thing that I could think of. And I really do hope that it will help you, you know, not damaging your car. If you do these things, you should be fairly well off, really. There's a couple more extreme things that you might do, but like for an everyday person, that's not really needed. If you do go into the fucking Antarctic, you know, into the middle of nowhere, where it's like, you know, 10 feet of snow, and you drive there, well, I'm just gonna say fair play to you. And yeah, you probably should prepare a lot more than what I've just said. But in the meantime, this should be decent enough advice for an everyday Joe, really. So, thank you all for watching. Like this video if you did, and dislike if you didn't. And tell me why in the comments, and tell me how I can improve. Also, make sure to subscribe and click the bell so that you will be notified when I do upload a video. I know I'm not uploading that regularly, but I'm kind of in the middle of finishing school, and COVID and that doesn't make it any easier. So yeah, anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you at the next one.
Models popping bottles.